Hey, it's Mayor Joe Ganim. We're going to go into the building and I'd like to welcome you as our city employees back in as well. Now, under certain protocols which we're going to talk about, we'll meet Ms. Wanda Jeter at the front door. She'll give a little bit of protocol at the front door as we begin our second phase of reopening city government here in the city of Bridgeport. So come on. So I have my mask.
Yep.
Putting this on. Let's see. Oh, Josue, thanks so much. When we come to work today. Thank you for welcoming us back into City Hall.
Absolutely.
999 Broad Street. This applies to both and all of our buildings. We're waiting with Matt and Wanda. Wanda Jeter. Wanda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you, sir?
So tell them, this is the entranceway 999 Broad. What should they know about coming back into the building as employees or the general public?
Okay. Good morning. This is Margaret Morton Government Center at 999 Broad Street. The building is closed to the public. Only department that is open is vital statistics. You have to have an appointment for funeral directors and marriage license. If you do not have an appointment, unfortunately, because of COVID, I cannot allow you in the building. If you do have an appointment, you will give me your name and the time. I will confirm it, then I will let you in the building. But you must have on your mask and your gloves. Hopefully,
Hey, it's Mayor Joe Ganim. We're going to go into the building and I'd like to welcome you as our city employees back in as well. Now, under certain protocols which we're going to talk about, we'll meet Ms. Wanda Jeter at the front door. She'll give a little bit of protocol at the front door as we begin our second phase of reopening city government here in the city of Bridgeport. So come on. So I have my mask.
Yep.
Putting this on. Let's see. Oh, Josue, thanks so much. When we come to work today. Thank you for welcoming us back into City Hall.
Absolutely.
999 Broad Street. This applies to both and all of our buildings. We're waiting with Matt and Wanda. Wanda Jeter. Wanda, good afternoon.
good afternoon. How are you, sir?
So tell them, this is the entranceway 999 Broad. What should they know about coming back into the building as employees or the general public?
Okay. Good morning. This is Margaret Morton Government Center at 999 Broad Street. The building is closed to the public. Only department that is open is vital statistics. You have to have an appointment for funeral directors and marriage license. If you do not have an appointment, unfortunately, because of COVID, I cannot allow you in the building. If you do have an appointment, you will give me your name and the time. I will confirm it, then I will let you in the building. But you must have on your mask and your gloves. Hopefully, sometime soon, the building will be open to the public. We have to wait on the governor's orders. Thank you very much.
So as you get further in the building, you'll see, please wear a face mask, and thank you. On Wanda's desk, there was the hand sanitizer, which we're asking people to use. We'll go into the protocols for temperature and testing as we explain all the details about coming back into the building for city employees. Come on. So, if you have business up here, again, this is the mayor's office. Hey, it's Mayor Joe Ganim. We're going to go into the building and I'd like to welcome you as our city employees back in as well. Now, under certain protocols which we're going to talk about, we'll meet Miss Wanda Jeter at the front door. She'll give you a little bit of protocol at the front door as we begin our second phase of reopening city government here in the city of Bridgeport. So come on. So, I have my mask.
Yep.
Putting this on. Let's see. Oh, Josue, thanks so much. So we're waiting for everyone else. There was a glitch. Welcome to this virtual town hall. Mayor Joe Ganim, City of Bridgeport employees. We're going to kind of, how do you do that when you wait for people? Kind of stall? Because we're letting people switch over as you did. Now we have about 30 people on. There was over 100 before, I think, or close to 100. And we had to send out a new link to city employees. So my apologies for that. Please stand by. We sent a new link for others to join, hopefully momentarily. And I'm going to kind of just begin by thanking you. And I'll watch the numbers grow, and we'll go from there. But everyone's got the new link, apparently, right?
No, not yet.
Okay. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go to... Why don't we begin to run it, and then when it's about 2 minutes, we'll just give you an intro video and go from there. Hey, it's Mayor Joe Ganim. We're going to go into the building and I'd like to welcome you as our city employees back in as well. Now, under certain protocols which we're going to talk about, we'll meet Miss Wanda Jeter at the front door. She'll give you a little bit of protocol at the front door as we begin our second phase of reopening city government here in the city of Bridgeport. So come on. So I have my mask.
Yep.
Putting this on. Let's see. Oh, Josue, thanks so much. Let me come to work today. Thank you for welcoming us back into City Hall.
Absolutely.
999 Broad Street. This applies to both and all of our buildings. Anybody knows Matt and Wanda? Wanda Gita. Wanda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you, sir?
So tell them, this is the entranceway 999 Broad. What should they know about coming back into the building as employees or the general public?
Okay, good morning. This is Margaret Morton Government Center at 999 Broad Street. The building is closed to the public. Only department that is open is vital statistics. You have to have an appointment for funeral directors and marriage license. If you do not have an appointment, unfortunately, because of COVID, I cannot allow you in the building. If you do have an appointment, you will give me your name and the time. I will confirm it, then I will let you in the building. But you must have on your mask and your gloves. Hopefully, sometime soon, the building will be open to the public. We have to wait on the governor's orders. Thank you very much.
So as you get further in the building, you'll see, please wear a face mask, and thank you. At Wanda's desk, there was the hand sanitizer, which we're asking people to use. We'll go into the protocols for temperature and testing as we explain all the details about coming back into the building for city employees. Come on. So, if you have business up here, again, this is the mayor's office. Reception's at lunch, but those are our little notices in the door. The mask. This is the plexiglass in front of this, as will be common in most of the, should be in all of the offices throughout city government. And if you see things that we need to do as you come back into the offices as an employee, please let your department head know so that we can at least take that into consideration of things we may could do better. Thanks. So, a little bit of technical, and I know people are catching on. There was a new link sent back out. So if you want to, you can spin back around. I think it's on YouTube. We'll send another email in case people need it to pick up any of the initial stuff you might have missed. But thanks and welcome. You know, we do these every day, but to the general public, kind of a little broader perspective. But I thought it's important now. Last one we talked, I think it was almost 4 weeks ago. I could check the date. But we've made some progress. Certainly the world has made some progress. We certainly had some challenges. We won't get into stuff outside city government right now, but you know, we share the anguish and the pain of what's going on nationally. We share the challenges with people around the world over COVID, and I think we're doing our part. And now we're at the point where, for city government, which has a continued responsibility regardless of everything else that's going on, or in addition to look at ways that we, one, today, look to do the following: update the status of the city in general and city government for all of us. I want to touch on employee work protocols, as many of you will be coming back if you're not back yet, what that looks like and how that'll work, how our offices, our city offices and department heads are managing this COVID, and what we plan on doing going forward. Protocols for visitors. You heard Wanda Gita talk a little bit about people coming into the building, what they should be aware of. And then kind of what's next, and these are not like, there's not a lot of hard, firm answers on that, as you'll see, and some other questions that were submitted to us, and we'll try and answer those as well. Some are particular, so we may defer those to particular offices, but regardless, welcome. Let's touch on some things that hopefully are helpful to you and to me. One would be an update as to kind of where we are as a city. So you know we're in phase 1 of the reopening of the entire state, and that began on May 20th. And as of the first of the month, all city departments theoretically reopened at 50% capacity. Now, they may not even be at 50% capacity, but at least in theory, and I think in practice, whether it's the biggest or smallest departments, the protocol is to be back kind of putting stuff together. Now, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It has a lot of pieces that are attached to it. We want you to know that. And if you're in the building, we want you to be aware of it. If what I say or what we talk about is different than what you see, then we want to know that, because it should be pretty much universal. But all the reopening plans are reviewed and approved. throughout the upper kind of levels of city government, the Office of Emergency Management too, the Health Department, and the CAO's office. And then we chime in here at the kind of the mayor's office where we see a little tweak here and there. But they've been doing a very good job under very difficult circumstances, as has everyone. I mean, you get into this, what's going on and all this stuff, but I really want to say across the board, in dealing with what is such an uncomfortable atmosphere COVID-wise, I mean, for people to meet the challenges, whether working at home or coming back. And those that have been out there on the front lines, whether you're a city employee or a healthcare worker, driving the buses, and I know I'm talking to city employees now, but those city employees that have been out there from the beginning, whether you're wearing a uniform as police and fire, EOC, emergency services, sanitation, school, administrative, homeschooling, and everyone. I'm looking for a better phrase than tip my hat to you, but in many ways, just say thank you from all of us for keeping it going and getting through this together. So we've had signage instruct the employees and visitors to use face covering and hand sanitizers. If you saw the video at the beginning, when I walked in, I did walk by the hand sanitizer that's in the front. I think it's in front of, yeah, right there. And I have my own with me, so it's the only reason. But we have hand sanitizer stations at the entrances. They should be at all the entrances. Somebody needs to kind of move these slides along. Remember when I said everybody's doing a great job? Maybe I didn't mean everyone. We're doing, so COVID-19 testing is for essential personnel began on 5/2 or May 2nd. It's ongoing. You might remember this, maybe not. We're living it, so we forget what we kind of do every day a little bit, but there was days set up right away for first responders or essential personnel way back a little over a month ago. We've also given out over 213,635 masks, facial covering, like these have been distributed to our community by our Office of Emergency Management, by city council members, and others. And so we've made a very strong statement, so to speak, with action. And that was to give masks out, to get them out to as many people as we could. And of course, everybody was clamoring for them. Now people are comfortable with them. They seem to have them, seem to be using them, and that's good. One of the other elements is, in addition to masks, in addition to social distancing and protocols, is testing. And so all city employees, you probably know this already, but COVID-19 testing isn't mandatory. In other words, it's not like, oh, maybe I'll get one, maybe I don't need it. It's mandatory for all city employees. So department heads, managers, and employees are responsible for making sure that the employees of each department are up to date with their testings. All employees will be provided with testing information by department heads and supervisors. And if there's questions, because you may have questions, and I'll field the ones that I've had, and maybe they're similar with yours, but you can contact the health department or schedule an appointment, and that's at covidtesting@bridgeportct.gov. I've been tested 3 or 4 times now. I'm still waiting for the results from one. I know it's well past the time. It was a week ago Friday. So, a week ago Friday? When did I do St. Vincent's? Yeah, it was a week ago Friday with the Lieutenant Governor. They haven't given us those results yet. But what we want people to do is understand that symptoms or not symptoms, coming back in, there's always the risk of exposure. So we want people to get tested, verify they've been tested before they come back in. And some of the questions in my mind, without poking at the testing, is, well, if I got tested a week ago, Mayor, do I need to get tested again the following week, right? And the answer is probably yes at this point. But we're going to get a little bit more structure to what the testing protocol is for all people coming back into the building. But it's not painful, it's not upsetting, and they've got it to the point where I had the one all the way down the nose, and it gave me a little bit like this, and I tried to be, tough guy, not make any reaction, but I felt a little bit. It wasn't where it would discourage me from doing it again. I've had my blood drawn. I've had my finger pricked on one of those they thought was a good test early on. I got tested for antibodies, and I've had the one that kind of does swab inside the nose without going in further. So I've had them all. This is not a big deal. It's a little bit inconvenient, but I think people should get comfortable with the fact that we need to get tested on a regular basis. So we'll figure out exactly what the regular basis is. The CAO will put out a protocol that the department heads, and they'll work with you on that. You have to wear a mask. This is employee work protocol, or a facial covering while in the building. So everyone here has it. I have mine here. I took it off so that you can hear me a little bit. We've gone back and forth with what the right protocol is when doing this stuff, even at press conferences. You see people kind of split the kind of, sometimes we wear it, sometimes they bring it down here and so on. But bottom line is, in the building when you're working, unless there's a reason why CEO's office want to change the protocol, maybe there's only one person in the office and so on. But basically the rule is to wear it. And we know sometimes if you don't have it on and you end up finding yourself in a group of people where you're all alone in your office. So think about that. The goal is not to create a new challenge for people. It's to avoid a health problem. 6 foot distance between employees and the public. Where you can, 6 foot distance between employee and employee. We do that in this office here. We have, I don't know, did you see the video in the beginning? Josue was in every, because we don't have that many people, we put him at the front door, then we put him on the elevator, then we put him, he did a good job. That's what you have to do when you don't have enough employees, so great job. PPE kits containing a surgical mask, gloves, you see the gloves in there? And a pack of tissues has been issued to all employees. And I guess I got 2 of them issued to me, that's pretty good, right? So, and that's something you should have, so you don't really have to, where do I get a mask from, and all that kind of stuff. So this, I just showed it to you, and it's up on the screen now if you can see that. Have people been able to switch over that we're trying to get back on? We lost a lot of people in the beginning. See what you got, a number.
Have them share the link with.
Yeah, and share the link with other employees, because I think we lost a few in the beginning through the technical problems. And we're not the only ones that have had these technical problems, so don't feel like... Okay. So we're going to continue through the slides, and then there's some questions and answers at the end. This is supposed to be kind of just a good feel for people as to kind of what they need to know when they come in. Next is, you can look at what you'll see as far as work protocol signage. You'll see signage that says wear face coverings. You saw us show you that. We'll show you a picture of it. And hand sanitizer stations, as I said, have been installed throughout city buildings. They'll take your temperature. No, and the thing on the forehead, if that's how we're doing it, is the easiest. It's I've had people do it to me. You don't even know you have to touch your forehead. And we need self-monitoring for symptoms as well. Symptoms are still indicative of positive COVID. So just because we're doing testing for asymptomatic, in other words, if you don't have symptoms, doesn't mean symptoms aren't important. And self-monitoring for symptoms must be done at the beginning of every work shift and recorded on the department log. So you're gonna have a record saying, no, I'm no symptoms. And we don't want people coming to work into the building if you're not feeling well. For anything. We think we know. I think globally we think we know what symptoms are for COVID, but I don't know if we really do. Seems to be changing. So if you're not feeling well at work, or you think there's an issue, don't come to work, talk to your supervisor. This is what the hand sanitization stations look like. This is the one at the elevator. So you get to put, do a quick hand. I'm not gonna do the nasal thing like Cuomo did, but I can do the hand, If these things had a nice perfume smell, I would probably pat my face to make myself, but basically joking around just to make it a little more lighthearted. But yes, you can't beat doing the sanitation on the hand. Better than the gloves, I think. You saw me early on wearing the gloves all the time. And then we got into this false kind of sense of confidence of what you could touch and what you couldn't touch. You can't beat the hand sanitizers or washing your hands repeatedly with soap while you sing happy birthday. Again, this sign is just to remain and to remind visitors and staff to wear facial covering, so you'll see that at the elevator too. We did that little thing, if you saw it in the beginning, where we walked into the building, but a lot of you haven't walked back into the building in a long time. And the doors are locked, and Wanda was very diligent, and she's at the front door, and that's for visitors. But as employees come back in, you need to know these things. You have a protocol for a work drop. Mail drop boxes are being installed. If they're not, many of them are in, I saw them, outside of city offices for delivering the mail. So what we're trying to do is, in every step of the way, where we can reduce a personal contact where it's not necessary, we're doing it. So this is a box outside the office where you put your incoming mail. They'll put it there. If it's into our office, they'll figure out how to do it, but they don't have to go in and talk, and then outgoing can go there just as well. There'll be a questionnaire will be required to be answered and returned by every employee before returning to the office. And it says VOCI. I had a lot of fun with this term here, VOCI form. And I said, what is a VOCI form? Just because they put it in the slideshow, I'm supposed to, what if I get a question, what's a VOCI form? Well, it's this form right here. It's a COVID-9 building access form, basically. And you basically fill it out. I think all the technical information was there. And it says, employee phone number, full name, type of, so these are one of the protocols that's being put in place.
It reinstates your access, that's all.
And for those of you who want to get back in the building, it'll reinstate your access. So if you have that white card or you have the fob like I have, it'll reinstate your activity on that. So, so you need to do a VOCI form. Is that Italian? VOCI? Sounds like it. Sounds like this is dessert. But it's a VOCI form, you need to do it. Quit joking around here. We get a little punchy here. So how are we doing this? How are city offices and department heads managing COVID? Basically, the human resource webpage for employee services, resources related to COVID, employee benefits, and training is at bridgeport.gov/HR, which is for, bridgeportct.gov/HR is where you would go for this information. COVID-19 workplace guide for city employees is available on the website. So rather than get into all this, I want people to know it's bridgeportct.gov/HR, which is human resources, and COVID-19 workplace guide for city employees available on the website. Labor Relations continues to work with department heads to create and update internal office safety procedures. So everything we're talking about, there's no, oh my God, they're doing that. Maybe the VOCI form, VOCI, is a little bit new, but you knew you were going to do hand sanitizing. You knew we were going to probably take temperature because you saw that on the news and other places. Probably knew we were going to probably wear a mask, put up plexiglass, do markers for 6 feet designation, do appointments only. The mail thing, you probably didn't think about that, but that was a good idea. And so little by little, and we're kind of the offices and departments you don't have to worry about as much. Think about what sanitation has to go through. Think about what police goes through. Think about what fire goes through, EOC. So these are just for general, all of kind of us, so to speak, kind of basic protocols that I think you're going to see in most workplaces for, I don't want to call us non-essential, but we're really non-essential. For regular kind of people. I don't mean irregular versus regular, but essential. All right, stop. Get back to the slides, Joe. Labor Relations continue to work with department heads to create and update internal office safety procedures. Continual engagement with department heads will happen, obviously, and staff on implementation of other relief provisions. So if you see things or ideas, they may be good ideas, they may not. They're going to be an idea that we should probably bring to someone's attention if you think there's something that's not conducive to the best safety procedures that we could have. So visitor protocol, you heard a little bit of that in the initial video if you were able to watch that. It's vendors and contractors are allowed into the building by appointment only. And they also must wear a face covering and gloves. So if you see someone without facial coverings, and I guess gloves now is in here, and so I'm going to repeat it, and you're not going to have, all of our areas should be marked with 6-foot increments. Those are waiting areas. So if you have a waiting area, you're going to vital statistics, you have to get a birth certificate or something, there should be a 6-foot waiting area marked, or demarked, or whatever the term is, so that we do remind ourselves about the protocols. And let's make sure that we remind the public in general if they come in and they break, unintentionally I'm sure, break the 6-foot protocols with other people or with ourselves. I don't want a city employee to get impacted by COVID by us not reminding public employees to come in who may not be as in tune because they haven't had all the tutorials about the 6-foot. But hopefully they should know from grocery stores and other places. I see a nice picture there. That's the hallway. Is there a reason we got that up? Why? For the plexiglass. Protocols for visitors. Protective plexiglass has been installed at all the security desks and at off encounters. We showed you the one earlier, even at the front desk for the mayor's office. All scheduled visitors will be subject to questions about their health and temperature taking. So just like us. Permitting and licensing offices have utilized point and pay and can now accept credit card payments. So you have to deal with the cash. The discussion was, geez, credit card less likely to spread than cash? The answer was yes. So everybody's going to credit cards. I like it anyways for city government. Get rid of the cash kind of thing. And that's a picture, like I was asking before, of the plexiglass, and ahead of it is the hand sanitizer. So you can sanitize your hand while you're standing at the plexiglass. This world continues to grow and evolve in interesting ways. What's next? If I could answer this question, we'd be really doing well. When are we going back to normal, quote unquote, work schedule? So that's to be determined. We are integrating slowly and making these decisions in real time with input on a day-to-day basis. None of them are done in a vacuum. We're looking at what other similar situated organizations and cities are doing. We're taking protocol input from the state of Connecticut. We're listening to and abiding by CDC. So there's a lot of layers of experts and practices that are put in place. So I don't know when we're going to go back to complete normal scheduling. We may have to stagger this. We're going to have to watch the impact of this virus in our world. What will the new normal look like? It'll probably look like as listed on the slide here. Continue face coverings, maybe less as this minimizes or goes away, I hope. Continued social distancing. Somehow, you know, it's funny, you just watch, I don't know if you watch old news clips or TV shows or sporting events where you see people just doing not virtual hugs, but touching and just being much closer, which was the norm. My brain immediately acknowledges that that's not what we would be doing without a conscious intent right now, because we're all kind of getting programmed for this new normal, if you will. Social distancing, virtual meetings, something, I don't know if anybody even did Zoom before except for a few people. It's almost the norm now. It is the norm. I mean, it's the norm for us right now. We hope not permanently, but it is. And continued teleworking, I think, will probably be a part of what every large organization has to some extent. Where it can be done practically, it'll probably be done. Will there be furloughs or layoffs? That's not in the plan right now. We seem to be in a position where we continue to move forward. There have been some things that have changed. If you are a seasonal employee or were a seasonal employee, we know there was some delay in rehiring seasonals. And we'll take case by case, week by week, kind of look at how we're functioning as city government. As the world changes, I hope for the better, and gets back to whatever the new normal is. We hope that we don't have to do anything with regards to layoffs or furloughs. The thing I hear about schools, going off the slides a little bit, and I'll probably get yelled at, is especially with the universities. Everyone, all the students, by and large, I've heard very few that say they don't want to go back to the classroom. They want to go back to the campus experience. So I'm hoping that speaks well about what we can do for schools and that we make the changes that we had. I don't have updates on what the schools are going to look like, what our classrooms are going to look like in September. But even the summer programs, we're trying to figure those things out right now. And these aren't on the slides. But they all involve gatherings of 10 or more people, and how do we make them safe? But there is I think the social will individually. Students want to go back, college students want to go back to their campuses. I believe our students want to go back to their schools. So hopefully we'll have an update on that, although we're entering the summer season, so I don't think it's an urgent need for us to put that up right today. What's next? Will employees be allowed to travel to attend conferences and trainings? So the answer we're giving on that is that's on a case-by-case basis, but there's none of that happening now. Not because we put our hand, it's just not happening. These are not events that are taking place, and so it's not. But as we go along, we're going to be looking at this. We're doing a virtual today with an out-of-town consultant, tonight I think with the city council. And that was delayed for months because he couldn't come into town. And by the way, if that consultant, which he is older, so he's in a category, the less likelihood is that situation is going to dictate Zoom or a telemeeting. How long employees need weekly COVID-19 testing? So it's weekly. For as long as there is a health crisis is basically the answer. Or vaccination appears. We're not entirely sure. And what type of testing will basically be the same testing we're doing now. And again, these tests constantly change. When I had my first test, they pricked my finger and told me this was the quickest one. You get an instant response in 10 minutes, which I got. Now they're saying they don't want to use those as much anymore. The swab testing in your nose, again, has changed. So the testing keeps changing, but we'll keep you up to date on that. Will the general public be allowed in the building? Well, you heard the front desk by appointment, so not as a matter of course, you can't just walk in. Unfortunately, that's where we are right now. So, before I get to a couple questions, which we took in advance and we'll try and answer, we are entering this next phase, if you will, of reopening city government. We believe we have the appropriate protocols and safety measures in place. It is done essentially through the CAO's office with the assistance of the mayor's office, but department heads clearly are going to be the ones on the ground that you report to, that we report to together, to make sure that we're doing everything we need in these departments and that the safety needs are being taken care of first, who comes in, who doesn't. If there are particular concerns, raise them with your department head, or if it's personal related to your situation, as you'll hear from some of the answers to the questions, it would be with human resources, or ultimately, if it's a really major kind of across the board, how do you say it, health issue, bring it up with the health director. So one of the questions I got, which is of interest, I'm sure, but doesn't change anything we're doing, what's the number of positive COVID-19 cases in Bridgeport? We have just over 3,500, 3,549 confirmed cases. And we see the numbers of confirmed cases go up. They can't go down because once you're confirmed, you're confirmed. You could be past your COVID issue, but you're still in that number. At present, this is the highest number, I think, of any city or town in the state, but we have the highest percentage of people. So what does that mean? Does it tell you anything? Not really. I think if you really want to look at the numbers on this, which health experts are doing, you look at the percentage of COVID cases, and again, it depends on testing, so you got a variable there, against your against a population of, let's say, a round number of 100,000. And then you compare community to community. We did this for the first 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of our general town hall to public, and we were much lower than people because we have, regardless of what the raw number was, we're lower, maybe because we had lower testing, maybe because we had less cases, but we certainly had a larger population. So if you compare Bridgeport to Norwalk or Bridgeport to Stanford, if you didn't do it on a per population basis, then it wouldn't be a real number. But I don't know if that's as important for us in city government right now. What's important for us in city government to know where we are and that we put protocols in place to begin to integrate more people back into the building with these protocols in place. You just skip over question 2?
No, it's part of the answer.
It was part of the answer. So I did 2 and 1. That's good. Question 3. What safety measures are being done for employees with a compromised immune system, like myself, for returning to work? And when are you stationed?
When you are stationed out in the open.
Or when you're stationed out in the open? Front desk, receptions, area for that. We're following the CDC protocols on that. I know that's kind of just giving you another base of information for the answer, but those are the protocols we are following now. And then what I asked you to do individually, this person, without, not my business to name who it is or even know, is to speak with human resources or your supervisor for specific guidance on that and other questions that come up as to a particular health issue. Someone's senior, someone's got a pre-existing condition like this, a compromised immune system. We want to deal with that separate and apart, and there will be exceptions to the general protocols. Obviously, there needs to be when there's different health, let's say, levels of concern. Another question, if I get sick from COVID-19, do I have job security? If so, to what extent? Well, again, I could refer you, but that is something labor relations and the benefits department about a particular health concern. But across the board, we're going to be very sensitive to people that have impacted by COVID, who need the opportunity to get through that period of time, whatever is the 14-day period, and then to be able to come back to work if they're not back at work already. Question 5, due to COVID-19, my department, this is the question, may experience serious changes regarding roles and responsibilities in order to adopt. Job security is a major concern. To what extent could COVID-19 affect us in this case? There have been changes and we'll continue to have changes. But our priority, I'm reading it, I don't need to read this, I know this, but we know it, is safety first.
In every place I've worked, we've tried to have a mantra, safety first, whether we write it or say it. Because it makes no sense to be really good at stuff if you're not safe and someone gets hurt. So code remains a very integral part of all that we do in our workplace, and it has to become mainstream as safety protocol in our government. And as changes come up with that, we'll make changes, and we'll continue to have changes. Next question. When do you think that the senior centers will be open? I hope soon. We know the seniors really enjoy the senior centers, just a little bit that we get to do for them. But at this time, we just don't know. It's not because we didn't do our homework. It's not because we're stupid. We just don't know. It is probably, what's the right word? It would not be wise for us to be ahead of anyone on opening senior centers for all the obvious reasons. We've seen what happened in nursing homes. We know how vulnerable our senior population can be. As much as we want to do stuff for them, I think one of the worst things we can do is to rush ahead. So we'll be at least we'll be behind, or only in the same pace as what other communities do. CDC dictates, the state of Connecticut, and so on what to do, especially with seniors and other vulnerable populations. There's also another question here on this. When can we start meeting with citizens who apply for renter's rebate? Renter's rebate is a hugely important program. That's being discussed with the director now regarding the best and safest way to make this happen. So we'll put that out probably in our weekly town hall as we talk to renter's rebates, because I know city employees who make this program work, and I won't go into your names, although I know who you are and greatly appreciate it, as I know the renters do. We'll get that information out to the general public, and specifically to those that are in charge of that program and similar programs that have engagement with the outside, I don't say the outside world, but with the public in general. Another question that was sent in to us: are employees in the ECC covered by the pending legislation regarding hazardous pay? So that's a federal program I like to refer to as the HEROES Fund or the HEROES Act, which Senator Blumenthal and I have talked about, but it's federal legislation. And he was instrumental in putting in, it was called HEROES Fund or HEROES Pay. And it's federal legislation, and I support all of this, both, and have stepped up. All those are part of the frontline staffers. So my answer is yes, I support that. My impression, and I hate to put the answer out there because I'm not 100% sure, is that they are, or you are, in there. And I support that, and we can check further. I don't know where that sits in the halls of kind of making the sausage as they talk about legislation, but we'll try and find out for you, and I'll probably put that information out. We'll try and put that information out in our regular town hall. So here's the takeaway question. We saved it for last, and I'm going to turn it around and ask you what you think. Do you think we'll ever return to normal again? There is, and I'm going to end, I'm made lighthearted and we're serious, and this is about as serious topic as in serious times as it can be. But I do think we're going to return to a normal. That normal is going to be different, and we're going to learn from this experience. And if you listen to people that kind of take snapshots of events, difficult events, what happens is you go through this kind of struggling period, you make adjustments in the evolution of the human experience. We survive because we're able to adapt, and we will adapt to this. It'll probably be different. I hope at some point we look back and say that it's even better. Right now it doesn't look like, it looks like so much before this was better. So I don't know what that all is. All I can tell you is this: in city government, in this organization, where we each have an individual responsibility, doesn't matter whether you're what department you're working in, whether you're frontline, back office, talking to the camera now, whatever. We all have a role and responsibility, I think, to put safety first. And then I think to look forward to deliver the services we can in our jobs as best we can, and then to be a part of, I think, this whole social conscience on so many levels. One's with safety for protocol for COVID. The rest is trying to understand where we are as a nation, what some of the challenges that are facing us nationally, most emphatically and recently out of Minneapolis with police brutality cases, bias and prejudice, and work through that as well. I think we should continue to do that in our jobs and our personal lives as well. I'm getting some typed at me before I sign up. Please ask followers to subscribe to our city YouTube channel. because some of you, we got kind of switched on and switched off, so I don't know how many we got. But share this if there's important information. And if you want to bypass it, that's okay too, but I'd go directly to your department heads. You can go up on YouTube and find this.
Hit subscribe.
Hit subscribe. Please ask followers to subscribe to our city YouTube channel. How do you do it?
We need your help.
And there will be a forum. What's this?
This is regarding other questions that you got.
Oh, yes, that's right. There were questions, and I could put them up on the screen about where we are nationally. Well, my intention is we were working with city council members and others on the challenges. Look, we're not immune in the city of Bridgeport, far from it. We've had, stones thrown. We've had issues in our own community. Clearly, we don't need chapter verse, and because I don't doesn't mean that I'm not sensitive to them. But we will. Police will have a forum. There will be a forum, and we will talk about this more. But I wanted to keep this contained to where we're going as a city government on COVID right now, so people can know about re-entering into the building. And if you listen every day at 12:30, we not only talk about COVID, but we certainly talk about current events. As recently as over the weekend, joining protests, joining prayer vigils, joining marches, which we'll continue to do. But more than that, hopefully, you'll see us as part of those individuals and as an organization, as a city, taking action to make this a better society, to have the best police department that we can, put protocols in place that have been raised here, as people will do nationally as well. So with that, thanks. Again, we do these things. There's a formal part of it, but there's an informal part of it. I like the one we did, I don't know, it was back in December, January. We did it downstairs and we were able to go in and talk to people. I don't know whether you had a microphone on me or not, but we just talked. There were questions, and we talked about where we wanted to go as a city government. It's probably worth going off script here for a second to harken back and know that we talked about a lot of things. We put a reorganization plan in place, and we talked about goals, and we still strive for those goals, and we're still working through reorganization. But I will tell you, there's not been, and many of you have been in government, some of you have been in government longer than me, and I've been in and out since the early 90s. There is not more challenging of a period of time. I think for us collectively, whether it's as a city, whether it's a city government, now I would dare say nationally or globally. So some of this stuff, which we thought would move and move on its own path, now moves on its own path, but is in the midst of the major priorities that we need to address both globally with the pandemic and both nationally with our challenge. It seems to have become, as referred to earlier, at the very least, a stress test on the elements of our democracy and freedom. And in some ways, and I think importantly, and I think we all take on this responsibility willingly, it is incumbent upon us to be part of what is the advancement and the solution on all these fronts. So thanks so much for joining, again, in this together. If you have questions, comments, I'd love to hear them. If they're not flattering, I'd like to hear them anyways. We'll approve the next one. If they're flattering, it's okay too. But stuff that we should add to the next one, that's okay. Thanks very much. Thanks to the Communications Department for putting this together. Sorry about the glitches, but there's something in the system, because we had this with last time too. We'll probably do another one in 3-4 weeks. And you can rate us on glitchability. And the CAO's office, Janine, thank you so much, and the department for pulling everything together, getting it together on time, and presenting it in such a succinct way that it made me sound like I knew what I was talking about. Thanks again.